of the county towards high school, if you know where that is. As you can see, Emory Road is down in the interchange, down in the far right hand corner of this image. Existing land uses around this is pretty much all rural residential, rural residential, single-family residential, or agricultural uses. This is the 2024 aerial for the property. You can see where the disturbance is most prevalent in the middle of the site. That's where the development will primarily be located, so it is only a very small portion of the property. There'll be a lot of leftover buffers to adjacent properties. And the issue comes in, so it's kind of hard to see on the aerial, but there's a red dashed line that outlines this, where the disturbance limitation is. Pretty much what you see on the south side as disturbed, and then everything north of that back towards high school can be disturbed. The 2014 aerial clearly shows that this property was disturbed entirely before. So there's a very small portion of the property of tree line near High School Road that was not disturbed, and it's still there. What the development is doing is they're kind of pushing back just a little bit further into this already disturbed area outside of the disturbance line, so they don't have to grade more towards the front of the property, and then put more, I guess, potential for disturbance of the trees that actually are left towards high school. And since the backside of the property was disturbed previously as well, we felt it was more appropriate to go ahead and let them continue towards the back of the property, where there's a lot of buffer between them and the adjacent properties, than trying to force the development back towards high school where there's grading issues. I'm going to flip back real quick just to the beginning again. I just wanted to run through a couple of the variances and alternative design standards. Another aspect of the property, or of the project. We are asking for a right-of-way stub out, which they're providing to the adjacent property to the north. They're having to push their entrance all the way to the north, to their southern lot, southeast property line. Basically, the adjacent property could never have access without variances, and they would have to push their entrance right up against theirs if it ever got developed. So we're asking for the right-of-way stub out, which they're providing, so that they can connect into this proposed public road. Every single horizontal curve in this project, they are asking for a reduction from the 250-foot minimum to, I think, 110-foot radius might be the smallest, like up here in these turns. But the other horizontal curves towards their entrance is really just to try to reduce disturbance and to get up the hill. They are requesting a 15% grade in this portion of their entrance road, a 22-foot wide pavement width, to help again to reduce the disturbance. There's a horizontal, not a horizontal curve, intersection grade alternative design standard at the entrance too. So basically, all of it is because of the topography of the issues on the site. There's a large power line easement on the west side of the property. Everything's kind of getting compressed, which is the cause of these requests, and staff is supporting all of them. I just wanted to point them out. As mentioned, staff is supporting everything. We're recommending approval with the noted conditions in the staff report. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
I've got a couple of questions, because I know I'm a big proponent of trying to keep the area that it appears to have refurbished itself in the 10 years from the 2014 to 2024, which is a great thing. So it's a bit disappointing to say, well, it's been cleared off at some point in the past, so let's just extend it there, even though we had already said it wouldn't go beyond that. I understand that you were making some kind of compromises based upon what you described in terms of where it is positioned on the property. I guess my question is, one, at what point in the process was that decision made? That's really for my own edification.
When the applicant submitted, so I guess a first round of comments asked for an aerial showing their plan on top of the land disturbance limitation. And that's when we realized that they were extending beyond it. And then we had a conversation with staff like, well, they can move this forward. It's going to take a lot more grading on the front side of the site. And is that really the intent of what Planning Commission wanted? There was discussion of, well, they're going to have to bring an access road in. We don't know where that access road is going to be yet on the north side of the site. So we don't want to limit them to just the driveway coming through, from High School Road back to their site. That may not work. So we felt it was consistent with the intent of the condition to, minimize disturbance as much as possible, but also try to maintain on the High School Road side of the property as well. I was trying to balance that part of it.
The other question is, was there ever part of the discussion that if the density that they were after was going to require the extension into the area that has refurbished itself over the last 10 years, that density might need to be trimmed as opposed to trimming the trees?
Well,
this just, again, for my own learning.
That was the staff's recommendation, I think, was 2 dwelling units per acre, and it was ultimately approved at 3 dwelling units per acre. So that's what they can ask for. If they, Planning Commission has the authority to say, well, sorry, you can't go back, further onto the site. If that's what you choose to do, they might just decide to move everything forward again. So I think ultimately they can get the number of units that they're wanting to build. It's just a matter of how they shift the units on the site.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anything else?
Any other
items?
matters that Commission would like to bring up?
Just one real quick thing. I noticed the agenda PDF links are not working. So I'm not sure if that's something that could be fixed before Thursday, but it would be amazing if so.
Which agenda, like our actual, the full agenda or the agenda
The
review?
PDF, both the agenda review and the full agenda PDF. Neither of those, the links go to like a,
Does it go to like a, yeah, I think that Amy,
Okay, we'll double check that. That shouldn't be the case. We'll get that fixed ASAP. Yeah.
Calendar is not functioning. So if you try to click June and move ahead, it says the date doesn't exist.
Okay, we'll investigate what's going on.
Any other items? We're adjourned.
Josh changed that a few I'll ask one more time for anyone who showed up recently. Is anyone here to speak on an item who is not signed up online already?
Historic overlay on the Sun Sphere. Tell her I had her covered and she didn't think that was comforting.
I'm gonna ask her to speak. Or link.
Board chair. Do I have to recuse from that? I'm trying to be careful in my last years. In my dying years.
All right.
Very morbid.
Did I still have to put my name?
Do I really have to
I
gavel?
already signed on it.
Welcome, everyone, to the meeting of the Knox County Planning Commission. I am Tim Hill, Chair of the Planning Commission, and I'll be conducting today's meeting. Assisting me today is Executive Director of Knox County Planning, Amy Brooks, and Planning Commission Attorney Tasha Blakeney. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'll now ask Mr. DeArmond to call the roll.
Commissioner Uten?
Here.
Commissioner Boyer? Here. Commissioner Huber?
Here.
Commissioner Shelso?
Here.
Commissioner Perez? Commissioner Browning? Commissioner Higgins?
Here.
Commissioner Levinson?
Here.
Commissioner Biggs?
Here.
Commissioner Barger? Here. Commissioner Adams?
Here.
Commissioner Smith and Midas are excused. Commissioner Overton?
Here.
Commissioner Hill?
Here.
That's 12 present, sir.
Thank you, Mr. DeArmond. Participating today are planning commissioners as well as planning staff and various representatives of city and county agencies. The planning commissioners are citizens from the city and county who have been appointed by either the city mayor or county mayor. We receive no salary and volunteer our time as a service to the community. Now a word about how discussion will take place. After each item is called, I'll read the staff's recommendation. On certain items, I'll call on staff to comment. At this time, the applicant may address the commission or defer his or her opening remarks and allow any opposition to speak first. The applicant and those in support of the applicant will be given a total of 5 minutes to speak. I'll then ask for other comments from the floor. The opposition will also be given a total of 5 minutes to speak. If either side wishes to have an opportunity for rebuttal, you'll need to reserve your time from your allotted 5 minutes. Applicants and citizens who registered to participate and are attending the meeting in person will be asked to come to the podium and share their name and address for the record where their item is heard. Those who have registered to speak online do not need to sign in at the podium. If you'd like to speak on an agenda item and have not registered to do so in advance, please raise your hand when the item is read into the record. I'll then indicate when it's time for you to speak, and you can approach the podium at that time. You'll be asked to sign in at the podium as well as state your name and address for the record. If the Planning Commission decision on that item is appealed and we need to notify you, we cannot do so without your name and address. The Planning Commission may grant additional time for presentation of information. Speakers should limit their remarks to the facts of the case and should avoid repeating comments that have previously been presented to the Planning Commission. Because of the number of items that we normally have before us, groups in favor or opposed to an item have been asked to appoint a spokesperson to represent them. If you have any items that you'd like to make a part of the record, please submit those documents to knoxplanning.org/share. So that is, let's try that again, knoxplanning.org/share. All right. I hope all of you have reviewed the agenda package and planning's website. In addition to the agenda, there's information on the website related to how today's meeting will be conducted, as well as correspondence on individual cases. Many of the items that we vote on require further action to City Council or County Commission. For matters that are forwarded to City Council for final action, the applicant or their representative should be present at the meeting at which the request will be considered. For matters forwarded to County Commission for final action, particularly rezoning requests, the applicant or their representative must, and I repeat must, be present at the meeting at which the request will be considered, or the case will at minimum be postponed. Applicants will be notified of the meeting date. If you have any questions regarding the meeting date or process, please contact planning staff. Today's meeting will be conducted in the order of the agenda. Please stand as you are able as Vice Chair Chris Uten will lead us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bow your heads, please. Our Father, bless this community. Help to ensure the decisions made this afternoon are fair, legal, and in the best interest of the total community. As always, keep us mindful of the needs of others, especially those who are in sorrow, need, sickness, or any other adversity. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda are the postponement and withdrawal lists, and I'll read these lists separately. Under automatic postponements until June 13th, 2024, item 34, Monterey Oaks subdivision. Item 36, Leah Metcalf. Under automatic withdrawals, we have item 22, Clint Palmer. Item 24, Knoxville, Knox County Planning. Item 26, final plat of M.A. Parker's Home Place Edition, resub Lot 6. Item 33, re-subdivision of Lot 13 of the plat of E.R. Keller's Edition. Under 30-day postponements, we have item 17, Benjamin C. Mullins. Item 20, Belltown, Phase 3. Item 25, final plat of Lot 190 and 191 of Overbrook Addition, re-subdivision of a portion of Lot 22 of Richmond Heights.
Motion to postpone for 30 days as read.
Second.
Do we have any other requests to postpone? We have a motion and a second. I'm sorry.
Could you, for the automatic postponements, what was the first case that you mentioned?
That would be
34.
Monterey Oaks subdivision,
I'm sorry, the number?
34.
34.
That, I mean postponements, 30-day postponements.
I'm sorry.
30-day postponements?
Number 17.
Thank you.
So we've got 17, 20, and 25 under 30 days. We've got a motion by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Chairperson Boyer. Seeing no lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. Under 60-day postponements, we have item 30, Chia Sang Wu. Item 37, City of Knoxville. Item 38, Knoxville, Knox County Planning. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to postpone for 60 days as read.
Second.
We have a motion to postpone 60 days as read by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. Seeing no lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Under withdrawals, we have item 9, Masana Investments. Item 11, Masana Investments revised.
Motion to withdraw.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Uten to withdraw as read, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have no tablings. Items to be removed from the table. We have Knoxville, Knox County Planning on the consideration of amendment to the Knoxville City Code Appendix B to refine the application of the Bill 2 percentages and Bill 2 zones in CG2 and CG3 zoning districts. We have Thunder Mountain Properties. We have 2 Thunder Mountain properties. Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to remove from the table as read.
Second.
We have a motion to remove from table as read by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next on the agenda is the consent list, which is composed of items marked with a C. These items are considered non-controversial and are voted on all at once in order to save time. Items are listed in the order they appear on the agenda. Please listen carefully. Once an item is approved as part of the consent list, there will be no further discussion on it. I'll say that one more time. Once an item is approved as part of the consent list, there will be no further discussion on it. Do we have any recusals? All right. Item 2, approval of May 9, 2024 agenda. Item 3, approval of April 11th, 2024 minutes. Item 6, final plat of Volunteer Ridge, Phase 3. Item 7, final plat of Belltown, Phase 1, Unit 4. Item 8, Brad Anders, Knox County Emergency Communications District. Item 12, Jonathan Harper. Item 13, Masana Investments. Item 14, Jamie Falcon. Item 15, Betty Sewell Taylor. Item 23, Alexis Profit. Item 28, Jimmy Brianis. Item 29, Manuel Cardoza. Item 31, Jason C. Wright. Item 32, Catherine Greer. Item 35, Peter Fesick. Item 39, City of Knoxville. Item 41, Knoxville, Knox County Planning. Are there any requests to remove an item from the consent list? Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the consent list as read.
Second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Uten to approve the consent list as read, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. Seeing no lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. First item on the agenda is item number 5.
Commissioner Hill?
Yes.
Before we get into case 5, can I ask a process question about the cases that have been taken off the table? Do we know, once they're off the table, when they get heard?
Let's see, there's a minimum 30-day wait. Is that right?
Correct. They'll be heard, they'll be re-advertised and heard at the next meeting,
So the earliest they could be heard would be in June?
June.
Okay.
All right, on to agenda item 5, re-subdivision of Lot 414 Arcadia Peninsula, Phase 3. Applicant developers David Harbin. Location, west side of the terminus of Arcadia Peninsula Way. Approximate acreage, 9.83 acres. Number of lots, 1. Zoning is planned residential, 1 to 3 dwelling units per acre. We have, this will require two motions. First motion being a variance. Staff recommendation is to approve the variance for plat approval to increase the deflection angle of the private right-of-way from 10 degrees to 20 degrees at the subject property without providing a horizontal curve, based on the following evidence of hardship, and there are 4 noted items. Motion 2 is to approve the final plat for 1 lot in the PR up to 3 dwelling units per acre. Is the applicant present? Is Mr. Harbin present? Do we have any opposition? Do we have any opposition? All right.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, we approve the variance for the plat approval to increase the deflection angle of the private right-of-way from 10 degrees to 20 degrees at the subject property without providing the horizontal curve based on the 4 noted hardships.
Second. All right, we have a motion on, motion number 1 on the variance per staff recommendation by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. Seeing no lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the final plat for the 1 lot in the PR up to 3 DU per the acre zone.
We have a motion number 2 regarding the final plat per staff recommendation to approve by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. On to agenda item number 10. Applicant Masana Investments, LLC. Location, west side of Blacks Ferry Road, northwest of West Emory Road. Approximate size of tract, 8.1 acres. Present zoning is agricultural. Zoning requested, planned residential. Existing land use, rural residential. Density proposed is up to 5 dwelling units per acre. Staff recommendation is to approve the planned residential zone up to 4 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan designation. Is the applicant present? Do we have any opposition? Seeing no opposition, Mr. Davis, would you like to comment?
Scott Davis, P.O. Box 11315, Knoxville, Tennessee. I appreciate your time. Request you approve as per staff recommendation. Thank you.
Commission?
Make a motion that we approve the PR planned residential zone up to the 4 DUs per the acre.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the planned residential zone up to 4 dwelling units per acre by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. Seeing no lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. On to agenda item 16. The applicant, Masana Investments, LLC, location northwest of East Emory Road, east of Brackett Road. Size of tract, 5.38 acres. Present zoning, agricultural. Zoning requested is planned residential. Existing land use, single-family residential, agricultural, forestry, and vacant land. Density proposed up to 5 dwelling units per acre. Staff recommendation is to approve the planned residential zone with up to 4 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development. Do we have any opposition? Seeing no opposition, Mr. Davis, would you like to comment?
I guess I don't have to repeat my address again. Request you approve as per staff recommendation. Thank you.
Commission?
Make a motion, we approve the PR planned residential zone with up to 4 dwelling units per the acre because it's consistent with the sector plan and the surrounding development.
Second.
We have a motion to approve planned residential zone with up to 4 dwelling units per acre by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. On to agenda item 18. The applicant, Masana Investments, LLC, location west side of Harvey Road, north of South North Shore Drive. Approximate size of tract, 13.47 acres. Present zoning is, agricultural. Zoning requested, planned residential. Existing land use, agricultural, forestry, and vacant land. Density proposed up to 5 dwelling units per acre. Staff recommendation, approve the planned residential zone with up to 2 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development. Do we have any opposition? Mr. Davis, would you like to comment?
Yeah, again, thanks for your time. Scott Davis, P.O. Box 11315, Knoxville 37939. We originally applied for 5 units an acre, and we were comfortable with 3 units an acre. Every single parcel around us, adjoining us, across, attached, across, is all approved for 3 units an acre. I'm not quite sure or understand why staff recommended 2, but I respectfully request 3 units an acre because it is consistent with everything developed around there and everything that was just recently approved. So I don't see any reason why this partial could not be approved for 3 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent. Thank you.
Is Christy Watson present? We had her signed up to speak. Christy Watson. Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Commission?
I'm in agreement with the applicant's statement, so I'm going to make a motion. We approve the PR planned residential zone with up to 3 dwelling units per the acre because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development.
I agree. Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve planned residential zone with up to 3 dwelling units per acre because it is consistent with the sector plan and surrounding development by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? We have 1 no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time and your service. Thank you.
On to agenda item 19. Subdivision 8721 High School Road. Applicant developer, Robert Gregory. Location, southwest side of High School Road, south of Red Hawk Lane. Approximate acreage, 34.57 acres. Zoning is planned residential, up to 3 dwelling units per acre. Existing land use, agriculture, forestry, vacant land. Proposed use, attached residential subdivision. Number of lots, 103. There will be 1 subdivision variance required. And we will also require a second motion for alternative design standards and a third motion related to the concept plan and a fourth motion related to the development plan. All right. And is the applicant present?
Hello, Stephen Clare, 7800 Senate Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee, here for the Gregory Development LLC and 1222 Development.
All right. Do we have opposition? Any opposition? All right. Seeing no opposition, would you like to comment?
We respectfully ask that this is approved per staff recommendation.
All right. Commission?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the variance to reduce the minimum broken back curve as written and recommended for approval by staff and Highway Department.
We have a motion to approve motion 1 of the variance by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Chair will entertain a second motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the design standards, alternative design standards requiring our approval as read 1 through 6.
We have a motion to approve alternative design standards per staff recommendation by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion we approve the concept plan subject to the 10 conditions.
We have a motion to approve the concept plan per staff recommendation subject to the 10 conditions by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
And finally, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the development plan for the residential subdivision up to 103 attached dwellings subject to those 2 conditions.
We have a motion to approve the development plan up to 103 attached dwellings, subject to the two noted conditions by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. Seeing no other lights, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item 21. Subdivisions, Westland Oaks, applicant developer John Richard Patterson. Location west side of Ridge Climber Road, west of Footpath Lane. Approximate acreage, 22.07 acres. Zoning is planned residential up to 3 dwelling units per acre, and planned residential up to 3 dwelling units per acre. Existing land use, agriculture, forestry, vacant land, and water. Proposed use is attached residential subdivision. Number of lots, 68. This will require, looks like a motion related to the concept plan, as well as a second motion related to the development plan. Is the applicant present?
I am.
Do we have any opposition?
Yes.
I think we have, where are we? This one? Do we have Ray Ishik? Okay. Would you like to proceed or defer?
Well, I'll defer.
Okay. Mr., did I say that right, Ishik? Isaac, okay. All right, if you'll state your name and address, please.
Ray Isaac, 9858 Footpath Lane, Knoxville, Tennessee.
All right.
Excuse me, I'm speaking on behalf of most of the homeowners. We had a meeting this week at one of the houses, and we opposed this project for 3 serious issues. The first one, the whole subdivision is zoned for single family. And the proposal here for 68 unit violate that zoning from single family to townhomes. In addition, the current CCNR state that it is single family. So this project as it is violate that CCNR. And we are puzzled why the homeowners, the HOA company that did not take an action, and we're working to transfer the HOA to the homeowners. So the other thing that lacks, there is no current traffic study. The old traffic study was in 2019. If any of you are familiar with Westland and Pellissippi, is a disaster area now. So much traffic, so many cars. Sometime when you leave in the morning or the afternoon, you have to really fight your way through. So we need an updated traffic study to show the current changes from 2019. In addition, the environmental study has not been done also. So I ask you, all your commission, how would you like to go buy a house in a subdivision zoned for single family? Everybody buys it as single family, and suddenly, after 3 or 4 years, you find out somebody wants to build 68 townhome. Can you imagine every townhome will be 2, 3 cars coming out of that? The entrance and exit to this development will be in a very small area between 2 houses. The street in Ridge Climber is really smaller than the typical street. If 2 cars are parked together, nobody else can come through. And many times that happens, we have to call one of the houses to move their cars. So the main issue here, we appreciate the developer when he proposed the single family to start with way back 4 or 5 years ago. But to come in the middle, like in the middle of the game, change the rules and change it from single family to townhome, that did not happen. If the townhome and the single family was planned ahead of time before we purchased the home, we understand that. But everybody in the subdivision are puzzled and outraged, like after 4 or 5 years, somebody comes in and put townhome inside a single family home. I would like to ask any of you, how would you like to go purchase a home in a subdivision as single family, then 4 or 5 years later, you found out the townhome will be in the middle of the street.
Thank you, Mr. Isaac. All right, let's see here. Do we have Heath Gim? I think that is remote. He's not on? Okay, all right. Okay, would the applicant like to proceed?
John Richard Patterson, Kimley Horner Associates, 4031 Aspen Grove, Franklin, Tennessee. First, I'd like to start with thanking staff for working with us to bring this concept back to the Planning Commission. So Westland Oaks Unit 3 was a 68-unit concept plan that was previously approved with townhomes back in 2020. That expired in 2023, so we are now just here to redo that concept plan. But this time we're coming with more efficient townhomes in the sense that they are smaller. So the disturbance of the property is much less than what it was previously. And then also, because of that, we're able to add off-street parking. So that allows additional parking stalls for each home. I think it comes out to roughly 3 spaces per home. So that would help with parking on the streets. And then to somewhat address the residents' concerns, we've had environmental scientists out on the properties to do studies of wetlands and streams. They've reported their findings to us. We've accounted for those in our plans. We've submitted them to TDEC for review and concurrence. And then as far as the covenants and restrictions, we're not aware of, our research has not led us to be aware that we are part of that, being phase 3. And then to address the traffic, the traffic study was done for all 3 phases back in 2019 and is still relevant for the unit count that is being proposed. And we have accepted the condition of working with engineering staff to implement the westbound left turn lane from Westland onto Ridge Climber, which would help with traffic. So thank y'all for your consideration and happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Commission?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Just for the record, Mr. Snowden, because of the opposition's question about traffic, and it was done back around the COVID period, I'm assuming that you guys would re-look at that traffic study and make any modifications if needed.
We would, Vice Chair Uten, as part of the MOU process where we would consult with another civil engineer to make those improvements, we would look at the potential updated traffic counts and make sure that whatever length of left turn lane that was installed was appropriate based on the trips that would be generated from the site plan.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the concept plan subject to the 7 conditions.
We have a motion to approve the concept plan subject to the 7 noted conditions by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. Seeing no lights, all in favor, say aye. Oh, we got lights somewhere? Oh, Commissioner Adams, sorry.
My question is, I guess, to Director Brooks, because of the comment that the opposition stated of the HOA and saying that there is to be single family, and then the applicant saying they don't believe that in their research that they are part of that. It's obviously connected to the subdivision, so how did that issue get vetted through staff?
We wouldn't have vetted that particular issue if it's related to their HOA. Is that what you're asking, is whether or not we would?
Well, my question is, if there is some kind of tenant with the HOA that says all of this is supposed to be one building type, and that there's some discrepancy there, at what juncture is that being addressed?
We are not addressing that. So we're looking at the zoning and what the zoning allows. And so the zoning does allow a consideration for this type of housing.
So going into an academic realm, would that, I just don't have the history on all of that in my brain at the moment, but the entire area was under the same zone, or just that new portion that we're discussing changed? I can't remember.
Let me take a look real quick. It looks like was all PR up to 3 dwelling units per acre.
Is that something,
So that hasn't changed, to my knowledge, unless, staff correct me if I'm wrong here, but the zoning has not changed. It's
Okay.
the entirety of the site was PR up to 3 dwelling units per acre. And I'm not, and there's no conditions that I'm aware of that would restrict it to single-family residential, like single-family home.
okay, so I'm going to bounce to council just to ask about understanding that our purview is the zoning, and that's where we're making our decisions. Just thinking about community and how they handle this, at what juncture should that have been addressed?
And that's exactly right, Commissioner Adams. This body is going to be looking at land use decisions, zoning, things of that nature. If there are, in fact, issues that relate to the HOA or some types of covenants or restrictions, that would be something that would be more appropriately addressed by a court. And the homeowners and the folks in that community would have the ability to address that in a different setting. So in my view, that's not something that you all would need to study or consider right now. You're looking at land use decisions. There are other forums that are more appropriate for that type of question.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second to approve. And I see no other lights. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the development plan for up to 68 attached dwellings on one lot, subject to the 3 conditions.
We have a motion to approve the development plan for up to 68 attached dwellings on one lot, subject to 3 conditions, by Vice Chair Uten, seconded by Commissioner Boyer. Seeing no lights, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 27. Applicant Scott Smith, location north side of Lions Bend Road, east of South North Shore Drive. Approximate size of tract 15.07 acres. Present plan and zoning designation is low-density residential, water, public parks, hillside protection, stream protection, RN1, floodplain overlay, and hillside protection. Proposed plan designation, medium-density residential, water, hillside protection, and stream protection. Existing land use, agricultural, forestry, vacant land, water, and rural residential. Staff recommendation on the sector plan is to deny the medium-density residential land use classification because it is inconsistent with the criteria for a sector plan amendment. The water, hillside protection, and stream protection areas would remain. Motion 2 regarding the one-year plan is to deny the one-year plan amendment to the MDR land use classification because it's inconsistent with the criteria for a one-year plan amendment. Water, hillside, and stream protection areas would remain. And then finally, motion 3 on the rezoning, deny RN3 district because it is incompatible with surrounding conditions. Floodplain overlay and hillside protection overlay districts would remain. The applicant is standing before us. Do we have any opposition? Okay, we have opposition, and bear with me just a minute here. Okay, we have Mr. Richard Duncan. First of all, let me ask Counselor here, would you like to proceed or defer?
I'll defer, please. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Duncan, would you like to speak?
There's 2 of us, Mike Wink, and we both asked to speak, and Mr. Duncan's deferred.
That'd be great.
That's all right.
Yeah. If you'll state your name and address, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Wink, and my address is 1004 Kensington Circle. My wife, Paige, and I have lived there since 1998. We're both retired federal prosecutors. We live 2 houses from the applicant on Lions Bend Road. I want to address what's in the West Sector Plan, and I want to talk about some of the development policies which you are to consider in deciding this rezoning request. At page 38 of the case file, or excuse me, of this West Sector Plan, at 7.2, it says protect water resource by reducing pollution and retaining trees and ground cover. And the applicant has stated that he decided that he's not going to live there anymore because of the development at Lakeshore Park, because a bunch of ball fields were constructed closer to his property, and some lights have been put in place as well. And he is on the lake, as you can see in that, or this is actually a cove. And if you look at the first map of on your case file, which is found at page 38, I believe, or excuse me, 15, which was prepared. It shows the floodplain, and it shows the slopes around his property. Most of his property is in the floodplain. And so to pass his rezoning request, you're not protecting the water resources by reducing pollution. When he made the decision not to live there anymore, he tore his house down. You can see that if you go to Google Maps, aerial, you'll see his property with his house torn down. Below his house is a basketball court covered, and below that trees. That's where property from the hillside and from our subdivision drains Underlines Bend onto his property. Those trees filtered the water before going into the cove. Those trees have since been removed. And so his actions after he tore down his house is already in violation of this 7.2 consideration of protecting the streams. 7.5, protect natural drainage systems associated with floodway and floodplains. Again, his actions have already violated that. Silt is running into the cove. Restrict development on slopes. This is 7.6, greater than 15% along streams and rivers. He's along a stream, a cove, and if you look at the map found at page 15, which is prepared, it's titled Staff Slope Analysis, most of his property has a greater than 15% line along the shore, around his house, and on the property. Quite a bit of the property, and that's it right there, quite a bit of the property is in pink and purple, and that pink is 15% to 25% sloped. The red is greater than 25% sloped. And so the property does not lend itself to development along those considerations. Going to section 9.3, ensure that the content of new development, including scale and compatibility, does not impact existing neighborhoods and communities. We've talked about that in my comment and in a follow-up to applicant's attorney's comment, but I want to add this. Section 10.9 says avoid creating zone boundaries that result in unlike uses directly facing each other. When you leave our subdivision, you're facing his property. When he leaves his property, he's facing our subdivision. And as I've said in the last comment, his property is intimately attached to our subdivision, both by sound and visual. And so when we leave our subdivision, and this is the main entrance and exit on Lions Bend Road, we're facing what he wants to do. Section 9.5 says avoid locating residences or other noise-sensitive land uses that will be subject to excessive noise. That's the reason he left. It says avoid locating residences that will be subject to excessive noise. The noise, the construction over at Lakeshore Park is enough to cause him to move. And now he wants to put a whole bunch of people in a medium-density residency zoning situation exposed to that same thing. And the staff has already pointed out, I believe, that that's inappropriate. I want to focus real quickly before concluding on what you are to consider for medium-density residences. There are three things. As a transitional area between commercial development and low-density residences, We're in a low-density residence area. He is too. If this is converted to medium-density residence, there's no transition to any commercial property nearby. When you exit Lions Bend Road onto North Shore Drive, you have to go 2 miles west before you get to Rocky Hill, a commercial area. If you exit right, you have to go 1 mile before you get to Kingston Pike, a commercial area. This is not a transition area.
Mr. Wink, if you could wrap up, please. Your time is up.
Okay. I'll just wrap up with that and leave and ask respectfully for some time for Mr. Duncan to speak. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Richard Duncan, 1009 Kensington Circle.
Mr. Duncan, I'll give you, sorry to interrupt here, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Thank you. 1009 Kensington Circle. Lived there with my wife for 30 years. I'm a retired attorney. She is a retired owner of Greenway School. The traffic is designated as E. It's only gotten worse. It's gotten quite bad in the last 5 years. My wife and I developed the Richmond Orchard Tiny Houses subdivision. We followed all the rules. We were only developing 11 units, and we worked with the staff, and we also were advised by the staff to meet with our neighbors, which we did. We have not had such a meeting with Mr. Smith, probably for obvious reasons. It tells me what I need to know about what kind of development this will be and what kind of neighbor that we could expect. This is totally inappropriate for the peninsula, which is entirely single-family homes, with the exception of the Peninsula Club, Westminster Church, and that's about it. They meet none of the rules, and the question is, are we going to follow the rules, or is this community going to follow the path followed by Nashville and Atlanta? And we can see what happens when you don't plan and when you don't follow the rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Miss Ashley Williams here? Ashley Williams?
He had
Oh,
intended to speak.
Mr.
I just got an email that he had a medical issue, and I think he's being transported. at
Okay,
this time.
thank you. Hope he's well, gets well. Councilor Mullins.
Thank you. Ben Mullins, 550 West Main Street, here for the applicant. I wanted to briefly address a couple of comments. This was postponed from last week in part because Mr. Smith was trying to talk to Mr. Williams and try to get something set up, and they weren't able to get a neighborhood meeting set up with Mr. Williams trying to coordinate that. But it was postponed in part to be able to do something like that. This property is pretty unique in this area. It is really kind of isolated in and of itself as far as where it's located. Across North Shore Drive, there is RN5 zoning. It is across from Lakeshore Park. And then you get into the county and you have those older subdivisions that are still zoned in the A zone, but then you also have industrial zoning there across the cove as well, which is a KUB facility, I believe. So it's really kind of its own isolated residential node at this location. And they didn't mention in the neighborhood comments, but even in the petition that was signed, they keep talking about this can be 72 townhomes, and that's just not the case. It could not be done if we wanted to do that. The density is a function in the city of the dimensional design standards and other environmental constraints. And they've talked a lot about the environmental constraints. If you were to take the 5 acres that are above the summer pool line, 813, and then you apply it without considering anything else, that number comes to 72 units. But that is assuming, and then Mr. I think Frey actually outlined all the different considerations during the agenda review. That's assuming you can build within the 60-foot riparian buffer zone from that 813, which requires special permission from city engineering. It's assuming you could actually build within the flowage easement. That's the 822 contour line, which requires a TVA approval and a no-rise study. And if you've ever been involved in a no-rise study, you know that's kind of difficult to meet. And also, and then the floodplain with the city, you know, you can do this, but you have to elevate it to 1 foot above the 500-foot plane. Then you're not even considering the property that you'll have to back out from that consideration for internal infrastructure, stormwater drainage, the driveways, the parking areas, the buffer zones, all of that, the slope protection areas as well, all of that would have to be backed out. So you're really looking at a very small envelope that could actually be developed into anything. And this isn't, maybe at best, 1 or 2 acres could be developed. So this isn't really an issue of 72 townhomes, it's an issue of the type of housing that the zoning would allow. And being this close to an amenity like the park, this would be a nice location for a small kind of pocket townhome development that would want to be close to the amenities that are across the cove. Instead of being a 10, 20, 30-minute drive from Lake Shore Park, it would be a 1 to 2 minute drive. It'd be wonderful if we could work something out with KUB to have some pedestrian access across the bridge because it does connect to their greenway system, but that's not something that's available right now. So it's really about housing type, and the housing type, you know, a townhome development is similar in size and scale and scope to the to single-family residential, except they're attached. That's the only difference. The concerns that the neighbors raised about runoff and the environmental constraints, that's going to be a concern, and traffic, that's going to be a concern with any type of development that goes into this location, whether it's single-family residential or anything else. As far as density, I think there was a comment we should only do 1 unit an acre. We don't really set density in the city, but with the RN zone, with single-family residential, the density technically could allow 4.3 units an acre, even in the RN1 zone for single-family. So we're really looking at trying to do a respectful townhome development that would take advantage of those amenities. Now, Mr. Smith did live there, and he did remove his house. I think he took down a couple of dead trees that were in that area. It's not like he just clear cut everything when he did that. And, you know, he did have some concerns about the ball fields moving closer and the lights. He attended all the meetings when Lake Shore was talking about improving and kind of orienting many of the amenities they offer. And, you know, we looked at the lighting plans and how they were going to direct it away from his home. But he decided, well, you know, that's great. I don't have any small kids. I would rather look at this maybe as something that I could develop and I could live somewhere else. You know, and that's certainly his prerogative, but that doesn't mean now it's because of his subjective decision, it's unfit for any type of development. In fact, there's I think a very big market for, kind of a smaller mid-form housing in this area, which speaks to the changing conditions. I mean, we know that population increase is a changing condition in this area. We know that the need for diversity of housing stock and middle-form housing is something that the city has been trying to find ways to encourage, and that is a changing condition in this area. And just being this close to the amenities of Lake Shore Park and the reinvestment they recently did in the last few years in improving the amenities of Lake Shore Park, that is also a changing condition in this area. I think Lake Shore is a crown jewel park for both the city and Knox County, and there would be a substantial market for people that would like to live close to there. So, it is a challenging site. By changing the zoning, you don't affect the environment. You don't affect the water pollution. You don't affect the traffic one way. All it does is give us an opportunity to design something that would make sense. And townhome developments in the RN3 is a special use application, which means it would come back to planning staff. It would come back to city engineering. It would come back to this body to review and consider all of those concerns. And there would be opportunities at that time to study the traffic, to study potential environmental issues, and through that process, follow the rules and see if it can be corrected or mitigated in some way. So with all of that, I respectfully ask that you consider the changing conditions and would approve the sector plan amendment to MDR, which is consistent with the RN5 that's just right across North Shore Drive from this property, and also approve the zoning to RN3 to allow, us to really put some thought into a respectful townhome development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Commission? Commissioner Huber, I'm still not used to these little lights.
I think Commissioner Shelton's light was on before mine, and I'll let him.
All right, yeah. So this one, I think, I've kind of gone back and forth. Lakeshore Park being right there, I think it can make sense to allow some higher density near parks. I think that's generally a goal of our community. That kind of, and then, so I'm very interested to hear what the rest of the commissioners think, because I'm very on the fence, because I also don't think that, RN3, the housing types that are allowed within RN3 are out of character next to single-family residences. Townhomes as a special use being the most intense is not that extreme. I do wish that City Council would have approved RN3 as allowed within LDR, because then we wouldn't need a one-year plan or sector plan amendment. But I also sort of wonder, perhaps if others are interested, the applicant could respond on why the entire property is being rezoned if only a portion of it is potentially going to be usable and buildable. In my mind, it could make sense to just rezone, or it would make sense theoretically to rezone part of it as sort of a gesture of, this is somewhat of a buffer. Would the applicant care to respond?
I hadn't been asked to consider that question before, Commissioner Shelso, so you kind of put me on the spot. I think with all of the development considerations and environmental considerations for this property, really six one way, half dozen other. It doesn't really make a difference. So you can only do so much once you start to do the design aspects of it. And so trying to project and draw that line, not knowing whether you can do it and all the engineering, you're kind of feeling around in the dark on that. I do appreciate it would be a gesture, but you would really have to do some architectural and engineering to figure out what you could or couldn't do and where that appropriate line may be. But the good thing is it's going to come back to this body for review regardless.
Yeah, and thank you, Councilor. I think that the fact that it is, on the water, within floodways, in my mind, that's kind of really the hesitation to me to rezone the entire property, given the sensitive area kind of ecologically. So those are kind of my thoughts. And like I said, I'm interested to hear what other commissioners have to say.
All right. Commissioner Huber.
Thank you, Chairman Hill. Yeah, and I have some of the same feelings in general, and certainly respectfully with Mr. Wink and Mr. Duncan. It is a different housing type that they're talking about, but I'm like Commissioner Shelso, I don't really feel like it's a stretch to go to something attached versus detached. I mean, you've got some nice large lots in that subdivision, but one thing I did notice in our new growth policy plan, it actually has the entire subdivision over in Westminster and in that area as the urban growth boundary, which, I think that speaks a little bit to versus planned growth. I think with the right road infrastructure, that is the plan, or they would like to encourage higher density in that area. That along with, as I'm looking at the city, the current plan and with the zoning, you've actually got West Chase 300 feet away, which is a multifamily condo type development, similar probably to what Mr. Smith is looking at. And I'm familiar with that. I mean, it's a nice looking complex. Speaking to, I think, the question about can you, zone part of it or not part of it, I think that's difficult, and Josh at the city might be able to speak to it a little bit, but if it's in that floodway, even if it is zoned, if it does get down into that flood, you can't use it for density, you can't use it for, for anything. So I think that kind of takes care of itself right there. I too think, the proximity to the park area over there is a nice thing. It's a nice draw. County engineering, Steve, do you know what classification North Shore is in that area? by chance? Is it in the city? I don't know is it a major arterial or?
I think it would be a major arterial, yes.
Right.
It has to be.
And I would think, I mean, granted, I know there are some issues with that intersection too that a lot of people have talked about, and it has changed a lot in the last few years, but very close into the city, very close to the city core. I think I would be in support of the application.
Commissioner Adams.
To answer Commissioner Scelso's desire to hear what other people are thinking, I have also struggled with this one for the reasons that have already been stated, but I've taken the whole, it's troubling to me that for someone who previously lived in the neighborhood, that there hasn't been any kind of real productive dialogue between the current owner and the neighbors that are going to be living there. That seems odd. And the floodways issue as well is troubling to me. It's going to be a smaller parcel, so why, if there's truly just going to be a small portion developed, then why are we looking at everything? It seems like it's kind of keeping the door open to do more than maybe we know about. But for me, the real issue is the traffic over there. I mean, it is bad. And it's bad now. And even if there was a small development of townhomes or single family, whatever, going in there, I just don't feel good about doing that to that particular intersection. It's not planned to be signaled, even though it's been designated as a great opportunity for signaling. So I just don't feel good about putting more pressure on a spot that's already overwhelmed. So for that reason, I think staff got it right and support their decision.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Higgins.
Thank you. When I first saw this, I had some hesitation seeing the floodway, seeing the waterway right there. But looking at it more in depth, looking at the context, one point that came up during agenda review is the natural limitations with TVA where they could not develop past a certain point. I know from experience that in designing in sites like this that are complicated, the parking is going to be a big controlling factor in how many units you can even get there, and then also the number of units, just the sizes of the building, especially in townhouses where they have to each have their own footprint. Point being, a lot of this is unusable, and to the counselor's point, they won't really know until they know what they can do, whether, they won't be able to lay it out and see what is usable and what they can use. But there's a lot of things in place to protect that area and limit what they can do. And on top of that, the special use coming back. The comments about the ballparks there, I think if anything, this would serve as a buffer to the neighboring properties. You can't control whether the property across the street stays one thing or the other unless you own it. And, I think that that isn't really, in my mind, much of we can't really take that too much into consideration because this could be vacant land with no trees, no buffer. So I think that that doesn't really, I don't see that argument against it. I agree that being next to the park, this is an ideal location for townhouses. Councilor mentioned the drive distance. I hope that it would be the walking distance, as you also mentioned. But it is a very short distance, and I think people with families, people who want to live somewhere where they can walk around, go and play, whatever, this is a good location for that. For traffic and infrastructure, it's at the intersection of a major arterial and a major collector. Those are both, whether or not those roads are built out to that, that's what they are. And I don't think that if you zoom out and look further down Lions Bend, there's a lot of very large parcels that someone may decide, hey, let's take one of these and turn it into a subdivision with the same number of units. And I think that if that were, let's say, one dwelling unit, an acre, you're going to maybe be bringing the same amount of traffic here, but the attitudes might be different because they're 1 acre parcels. And I don't think that that's appropriate to bring to this. And frankly, this kind of reminds me of a conversation we had, I think, last month or a couple months ago across North Shore right there with just a few single-family houses going in. And again, the context of the RN5 across the street. So I think there's a number of reasons that this does make a lot of sense to me. So I would, I can't say that I agree with staff on this, and I would definitely be in favor of approving it.
All right. Let's see here. Okay, Commissioner Barger.
This is a question probably for Steve, but in the case file, there is a no-build improvement, and then there's one for a traffic light where Lions View and North Shore are. Would something like this trigger an improvement there or no?
That right-of-way is in the city, so I think it's best we direct that to the city of Knoxville.
Got
Sorry.
it. Same question.
Could you repeat that question, please?
Yeah, on page 19 of the case file, there is a no-build condition on North Shore and Lions Bend, and then one page down, there's the recommended improvement for a traffic light at Lions Bend and North Shore. So would a development of this size trigger a traffic light there or no?
It would typically not. Thank you. If one may be needed, but I would say typically a development of this size is not going to trigger any kind of traffic impact study or improvement there.
Thanks.
Chair will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the medium-density residential land use classification because it is consistent with the area, given that there's medium-density RN5 within a few hundred feet of the property. The water, hillside protection, and stream protection areas would remain.
We have a motion by Commissioner Huber to approve MDR land classification, seconded by Commissioner Barger. Seeing no other lights, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have one no, is that right? One no, okay. One no, Mr. DeOrmond.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the one-year plan amendment to medium-density residential land use classification because it is consistent with the criteria for a one-year planned amendment. Again, given that it is in close proximity to new ball fields that have been newly created at the park across the street, as well as the close proximity to other medium-density residential. The water, hillside protection, and stream protection areas would remain.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the one-year plan amendment to MDR land use classification because it is consistent with the criteria for a one-year plan amendment for the cited reasons that Commissioner Huber gave, seconded by Commissioner Barger. All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
No.
We have one no, Mr. DeOrmond.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the RN3 general residential district because it is compatible with surrounding conditions. The F floodplain hillside protection districts will remain.
We have a motion by Commissioner Huber, seconded by Commissioner Barger to approve RN3 district because it is compatible with surrounding conditions based on the noted comments by Commissioner Huber. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right. On to our last agenda item. This relates to the presentation of a slate of planning commissioner officers for the 2024-2025 term. I want to thank Committee Chair Rich Levinson, Commissioner Shelso, and Commissioner Boyer for participating. At this time, I'll turn it over to Committee Chair Levinson.
Yes, the committee came up with 2 nominations. Commissioner Hill to remain as our chair and Commissioner Huber to be vice chair. And is there any other nominations that anybody might want to put up or discuss? Can I have a motion to approve? All right, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Congratulations. Okay, or maybe.
Then we'll vote, we'll vote, so we've approved that slate, and then we'll vote on them in June.
Okay.
And, did you get the second? Okay, who was the second on that? Who seconded that motion?
Nancy.
Who seconded the motion?
Perez.
Okay. Commissioner Perez. And at 2:38, we are adjourned.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.